morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Hope you had a great weekend. Okay, we thought we'd kick off the week with something of a progress report on the polity. Where exactly are we now? As you know, the elections are, metaphorically speaking, just around the corner. Everybody's gotten sort of heightened, and to that extent, when we now called on Alhaji Lai Mohammed, we were pleasantly surprised that he would squeeze us in among his very, very tight schedule. Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Honorable Minister of Information, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Folarin. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, when did I become Mr. Folarin to you? You know I'm always Yori to you.
Coming.
But thank you very, very much for coming. And, well, we've got some questions to ask. In fact, there are our viewers out there, they know themselves, who have constantly been saying to us, you need to bring Alhaji Lai Mohammed here to answer some of these questions. You know, so as I said, we're very thankful that you could squeeze it in. By the way, why have you been a bit distant from us? Because it's not for lack of trying.
Well, I think I must apologize that my schedule had been a bit overstretched. And as much as I've loved to be here every time, you know, you call upon me, it's actually physically impossible.
Yes, because you were quite frequent, you know, in the lead up to, you know, you guys taking office. You were very, very frequent here, and suddenly when you came here, and people thought that we had a front row seat. That is, viewers of TVC had a front row seat. No more.
But don't forget, Yori, that time I was also resident in Lagos.
Okay.
I was not living in Abuja. So I think these are just some of the logistics, logistic problem that has accounted for.
Indeed.
For
so here we are now, and as I said, we'd like to find out what exactly has been going on. Yes, we've been reading the paper, we've been close to the news. Maybe the best way to look at it is when you were going to come into office, the President Muhammadu Buhari administration was coming into office, you constantly were telling us about the economy, you're telling about security, you're telling us about the fight against corruption, and I think I can also throw in, you know, agriculture. How well, and I'm fully aware that you are of this administration, and so you're likely to score your administration highly, but let's take a look at security, for instance. We have technically defeated Boko Haram. I think that's a paraphrase that came out of this administration. And Boko Haram is still, it would appear to a number of people, more active than they would have expected a technically defeated body to be. How would you explain that?
Yori, for you to appreciate the progress we've made in fighting insecurity, and especially Boko Haram, you must be able to situate the entire thing within a context. What was it before? What is it now? I think Nigerians have forgotten that prior to 2015, May 29, 2015, that Boko Haram was not just active in about 10 states in the Federation. They were in complete administrative and operational control of about 24, 25 local governments in Nigeria. In particular, 20 out of 27 local governments in Borno State alone was under the effective occupation of Boko Haram. And what do I mean by effective occupation? I mean that they were in situ, they had their own government, their own administration, they appointed council chairmen, they deposed emirs, they appointed their own emirs, and they were running 20 out of 27 local governments in Borno State alone, another 4 in Adamawa, and about 2 or 3 in Yobe. That was the situation we met. I still remember vividly when I went to Bama on the 5th of December 2015. Bama to Maiduguri is about 70 kilometers thereabout. From Maiduguri to Bama, there was no single vehicular traffic. And I had to be accompanied by armored personnel carriers and also helicopters to get to Bama. And when I got to Bama, what first struck me was that when I got to Bama, I thought I was either in Algeria, Tunisia, or Saudi America.
Why is that?
Because all the road signs, all signboards were in Arabic.
Okay.
That was the level of occupation of Boko Haram in the northeastern state then. Today, not only have we liberated every local government, I said this with every local government. There's no one single local government in the northeast today that is not the occupation of Boko Haram. We have reopened schools. We have reopened the roads in the northeast. As a matter of fact, so much has peace returned to the northeast that the Academy Warriors,
the football team,
are hosting other teams from Nigeria, for the league. Nightlife has resumed in Borno. You can travel the length and breadth of the northeast today without hindrance. That is the level of our success in fighting Boko Haram. Oh, yes.
How have we been fighting Boko Haram? What about by that question, I mean, yes, the army is there, but also, I don't know, the whole matter about negotiation, which some people frown at, that you can't talk with these kind of people. Is it a combination? What would you accredit the success you are describing to? Is it a combination of,
Yes, I think the success of our, success in fighting insecurity with Boko Haram, I think we must give the credit to Mr. President, because one of the first things he did as president was to move the tactical headquarters, the command and control headquarters of the military to Maiduguri itself, where we have now the theater. Before now, decisions about the Northeast were being taken in Abuja, but today all decisions about the Northeast have been taken in the Northeast itself. And then, of course, we had new service chiefs, we had new commanders, and we have now been prosecuting the war with more vigor, more zeal, and more urgency. Now, but like in any war, at the end of the day, you sit down also to negotiate for, for peace. Okay. So it's a carrot and stick approach. While the army is there every day pushing to recover every inch of land and to free those who have been captured over the years, we are not averse to negotiations, especially when innocent lives are involved. And of course, most lives that are involved in this kind of, conflagration are innocent people. So we can never shut out amnesty.
Okay, and maybe this is how, in part at least, how we got our Dapchi girls back, something that President Trump referred to on the last visit of the presidents, that we want the remaining Dapchi girls back, one. But then he did seem to show the fact that he'd mixed up his information about Nigeria because he thought and expressed that there was something of a oppression or Christian oppression, which nobody locally is going to say.
I think Boko Haram has not been kind to Muslims and has not been kind to Christians. As far as Boko Haram is concerned, we're all enemies. And and that must be understood about Boko Haram, that actually the first the victims of Boko Haram were actually Muslims. And today, the Boko Haram they make no distinction between Christians and Muslims. And our position on the Dapchi girls, you rightly said, is that for us, 111 girls were kidnapped, of which only 105 were returned. So we are still negotiating and asking them to account for the other 6 girls. And like Mr. President said, we are still busy, we are still actively, daily, asking for them to account for those who are dead and release those who are alive among the 6 girls.
Okay, which is, it concerns me a bit because hearing this from you, are those the signals? Because you would only be operating with the highest level of information.
I think
Are those the
President
signals that we're getting that there might have been some fatalities in the...
Yes, I think the president also said so, even in one of his interviews in Washington. Yes, that we hear that we lost some lives, but we still want the Boko Haram people to account for those 6 missing girls. But again, to go back to your question, see the difference between the abducted Chibok girls and the adopted Chibok, I think it's in the approach of government. In first instance, the moment the girls were abducted, we took responsibility. We did not deny that it did not happen. And immediately I remember myself, Minister of Defense, the Minister of Interior, we did pay a visit to Dapchi itself, and then the same day we went to, I think, Damaturu.
Yes.
And 4 days later, I went back also in the company of other ministers to assess the situation while the security authorities were, busy negotiating with them. And within 4 or 5 weeks, we are glad to say that we got, 105 of the girls, returned.
Indeed, we are glad that we got the girls back. But among the commentary that went out at that time is that what's happening with us in Nigeria? Why don't we learn lessons? After the first kidnap disaster, that led to bring back our girls, and now how could Dapchi just happen, quote unquote, almost like they just walked in at leisure? The insinuation is that this could very well happen again.
See, while we take all criticism, in good faith, and we learn from our past mistakes, we also want people to appreciate the enormous task in securing a country as big and vast as Nigeria.
But the problem area is not as big and vast as Nigeria.
Well,
it's limited to certain areas.
I don't think so. People don't even have an idea of the size. Like when Boko Haram was very effective and they occupied 24 local governments in Borno State, it was the size of about 3 times the size of Belgium. So people don't appreciate the size and the vastness, And when they talk about Sambisa Forest, they think it's probably just a park, not knowing that we are talking about vast, thousands of square kilometers of land. But then, like I said, we take all criticism aboard, we learn from our past mistakes, and we would ensure that something don't happen in the future. Okay,
let me come to a more general kind of commentary that's been rife in recent times. We are getting calls from our viewers that, to the effect that they think the president is slow. We get calls that say things like, look, I voted Buhari, I worked assiduously for Buhari, but I'm afraid since his coming, we've been disappointed. And we say, like, how, what by? And say a general, according to the critics, not as much action as they would have expected up to the moment. Now, I'm sure you would have heard this as well. What would be your reaction to the purported loss of supporters for Buhari? He won with 12 million votes, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I don't know what the percentage is, but from the commentary, that figure might have come down a bit. First of all, 1, do you agree? And 2, what would be your comment?
Well, I don't think I would want to guess how many supporters we've lost or how many we have won. No. But rather, I would rather want to work strong on what we have achieved in the area of governance.
Okay, since that seems to be what people are saying, we're not seeing very much of.
Yes, and I think it's very clear that we inherited an economy that was heading for recession. If you remember, in 2011, our GDP was about 5.39, percent annually. By 2015, it had nosedived to about 2.5%. So it was not by accident that by the second quarter, of 2016, we had entered recession. But the good thing is that we came out of recession by the first quarter of 2017 because of the combination of the programs we put in place, especially the economic recovery and growth plan, which focused on spending out of recession, investing in infrastructure. It's unprecedented. We invested 1.3 trillion naira in roads, railways, and other infrastructure projects between 2016 and 2017. And that's why we were able to come out of recession. But the good news is that not only have we come out of recession, we have also continued to grow positively. And let me just give you a few indices. We inherited a $23.7 billion foreign reserve in 2015. Today, we've been able to double our foreign reserve to $47 billion.
Our foreign reserve has actually improved.
From 23.7 to $47 billion. In the World Bank rank of ease of doing business, we've moved 24 places, and we were officially recognized as one of the best 10 reforming countries the world over. Which means today, we put in place strategies and programs that makes it easy for you to do business with Nigeria and in Nigeria, such as, property transfer, such as, getting building permits, such as, registering companies and the like. And this is what has helped in getting foreign investment, especially, foreign portfolio into Nigeria. Now, for instance, our stock exchange was ranked to be one of the 6 best in the entire world, with the return of over 43%. That's only in the area of the economy I can speak to. Now, we decided that we are going to diversify economy, and it's not by accident that it was agriculture, mining, among others, that actually led us out of recession. When we came in 2015, we were importing 644,000 metric tons of rice from Thailand alone. Today, that has been cut down to 24,000 metric tons, from 644,000 to 24,000. And how did we achieve that? By encouraging local production of rice. Rice farmers in 2015 were about 5.2 million or thereabout. Today, we have about over 11 million rice farmers all over the country. These are not my figures.
11 million rice farmers.
These are not my figures. These are figures from the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria. Before we introduced the Anchor Borers program into agriculture, what did we have? We had maximum about 3 million metric tons a year of paddy rice. Today, we have over 7 million metric tons of paddy rice. We've been able to increase the number of rice processing mills from 13 to 21. And only two Wednesdays ago, another 10 rice mills were approved. And when we talk about the rice revolution, it covers 32 states in Nigeria, not just one part of the country. Now, again, going back to the economy.
Yes.
What have we again achieved, in the economy, is that the central bank introduced what is called, exporters and investors, window, through which we're able to stabilize and also improve the inflow of foreign portfolio. And all this has given confidence to the external world that our economy is doing very well.
But domestically, the ordinary folk say things are still tight People call in and say the market is impossible, meaning quite expensive. So why has it not yet trickled down?
You see, Yori, when the country, it takes about 15 to 18 months for recession to peak in the country, and that is accompanied by loss of jobs. When you recover, it takes about 8 months. Okay. It's called a lag period for you to get back to where you
were before.
But don't let's forget what this government has done also to stimulate the economy, especially at the level of the common people.
Okay.
This is a government that feeds 7.5 million pupils every day, 1 meal a day in 24 states of federation. 7.5 million children take 1 free meal every day in Nigeria across 25 states. That has led to the employment of over 60,000 cooks all over Nigeria. Don't forget, this is a government that in one fell swoop employed 200,000 unemployed graduates under its Empower program. And this was not politicized. People went to the website and applied and got these jobs. Another 300,000 is waiting. This government, every month, provides succor for about 300,000 most vulnerable families by giving them every month 5,000 naira stipend. And this government has, in the last 2.5 years, also given 400,000, what we call the government enterprise and empowerment, through our government enterprise empowerment program. We've given loans ranging from 50,000 to 200,000 to over 400 cooperatives and individuals. Now, this is what this government is doing, even at the very, very low level, to stimulate the economy.
People are thinking that, without prejudice to what you've just said, and there are those who will acknowledge and understand it, some will not, and it's their prerogative. People think that if the infrastructure were worked on, then people would be able to help themselves. But that seems to be still a work in progress. Let me take the question of power, for instance. Yeah. Everybody knows how challenging that is. And up and down the land, barbers, little artisans, those people still have a challenge. The generators are still making noise. It's likely to remain like that for a while.
You see, Yori, what was the total power produced in Nigeria in 2015? Don't forget that by 2015, the previous administration had privatized generation of power and distribution of power, and only left the transmission to the federal government.
Yeah.
So when we came in, all the GENCOs, generating companies put together, were generating 2,690 megawatts of power. Today, because of the intervention of federal government, and how do we intervene? We intervene by providing a guarantee of 701 billion naira to all the GENCOs, assuring them that if you produce and the distribution companies are not ready to pay you, we, the government, will pay you for what you are distributed. And that has led to an increase in production from 2,690 to over 7,000 megawatts today. Today, that is what's being generated, 7,000 megawatts because of the intervention of federal government.
But we're not able to distribute all of it.
You are right that we still have challenges with distribution. And I told you, disco companies, the discos had been privatized before we came in. So what are we trying to do to also support the discos? And we are now asking that there are about 2,000 megawatts of power that are being generated that cannot be distributed. So we are looking for a situation where there will be some off-takers, of those 2,000 megawatts, so that we can now free the 2,000 to other, consumers.
Okay.
And in transmission, we have commissioned various transmission, stations and capacity to improve transmission. And that's why we can transmit everything that we are generating, but we cannot distribute everything that is being generated. And in terms of infrastructure, we have completed constructing 715 kilometers of roads all over Nigeria. We have rehabilitated 600 kilometers over Nigeria. All our bonds and our loans have been put back into infrastructure. We took 100 billion naira to cook, bond, and we now investing them in 25, roads all over the 6 geopolitical zones. Our rail program is working. When Mr. President went to the U.S., the GE actually also on the sideline of the visit president, the GE and the consortium actually signed the agreement for the Lagos-Kano, narrow gauge road. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow I will be inspecting the Lagos-Ibadan, rail project with the Minister of Transportation, because we have 2 projects there. We have the standard rail from Lagos to Ibadan, which we hope will be completed by next year. And then we also have the rehabilitation of the old gauge. More wagons and more locomotives are being provided. So yes, we realize that infrastructure is the area to go. And we're doing the same, in terms of, water resources also. Okay. All dams have been, rehabilitated all over the country.
Let me come to an aspect that is closely linked to security, and I'm talking here about the fight against corruption. There is a sense in which you could look at it as a security issue as well. Very. And I don't know what your assessment would be of how well this administration has done because people note that, one, look, we're not getting the kind of action we would have thought. We're not getting convictions. We're yet to get any convictions. We know about the rule of law and how we must work within it. And then people have made much of the fact that, wait a minute, how come there are no APC people? Since this is not a political affair, it's a Nigerian affair. Are we saying that it just so happens that by virtue of their being of their party, they were not involved? Or people are thinking that the law of averages would have thrown up among those who are there, perhaps some members of the ruling party, yet there's silence in that regard.
You see, Yori, I make bold to say that the fight against corruption is going very well. I also admit that when you fight corruption is going to fight you back furiously.
Sure.
And this is what you are seeing today. One thing is clear. This administration has succeeded in driving corruption underground at the worst. Before, it used to be open there on the table. Today, anybody wants to be corrupt will do it under the table. Now.
Yeah, but people are saying that the opposition is being hounded.
I'm coming.
And
I'm coming, sir.
Ruling party affiliates, if not exactly members,
but you see, sir, it's not
are
correct.
not getting any hassle.
It's not correct, sir. Because I think all these arguments arose from the list of looters that are released. But people should ask themselves, what is the origin? What led to the release of the list of alleged looters? It was a response to the PDP. When the vice president gave a speech and said that in one day alone, the previous administration spent $259 million and shared it among themselves. He was challenged to name those who shared that money. So I took up the challenge and I published the list. That is different from the comprehensive list of looters.
Okay, okay, there's
See,
that distinction.
you see, that is the origin of the story. Now, you challenge us, we gave names, now you are going to court, which we welcome.
Mm-hmm.
But as we are going to court, you are also answering, you're also honoring invitation from the FCC and ICPC to explain your rules. As a matter of fact, most of the names some of the names we mentioned are even people that have made refund to government. So we are really very comfortable about this. But to say that...
Yeah, but I remember people criticizing that, look, some of them have been sorted out now.
No.
Why are you throwing everything back in there?
So what we're saying is that, as a matter of fact, there's even more from that, there's more from where that came from. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that there are those who've even entered plea bargain.
Okay, I got to go on a quick break. We'll come back, we'll continue this, and of course, we'll take your calls as well. Stay with us, please.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back, and our guest is Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Honorable Minister of Information. I interrupted you on the question, important question of the fight against corruption, and critics saying that we notice that they think it's directed more at your opposition. You know, I don't know, how you feel like that, and one of the reasons they feel that way is that they are yet to see any, first of all, yet to see any convictions generally. And even in the challenging, no APC person is being challenged.
Actually, there have been convictions, but they've not been probably high-profile convictions, which I agree. And you see, fighting corruption is very, very difficult. Even in the best of climes, everyone have to follow the rule of law.
If you want, thank you.
And we are doing that. And but we are very focused. We are painstaking. And we know that at the end of the day, we are going to get a lot of convictions. As a matter of fact,
so it's not a matter of stringing this along till you leave office
no,
and then put it on someone else.
No, they didn't steal our money. They stole the money belonging to the Commonwealth. So they will be prosecuted. And I think no matter whether we are there or not, I mean, this matter will be prosecuted. And actually, we fear seriously that all this opposition that we're having, in recent times, it's the fear of prosecution, the fear of going to jail. But if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. You see, having said that, I want to assure Nigerians that we're not lopsided in fight against corruption, but we were challenged to name PDP looters, and we did.
Okay.
And very soon we are going to come out with a comprehensive, list of all those who have plundered the Commonwealth.
Because we as you say, you're happy with the way it's going. It could be faster, but then you've explained the rule of law cannot be hurried.
You see, the executive arm of government, we will prosecute, and I think we leave it to the judiciary. And I think they are doing their best too, but they are simply overwhelmed. And like I said, even the judiciary also must be fair to all concerned. So we're working very hard, and I think the good news is that judiciary is also committed, and I think recently we set up 2 special courts to try corruption cases, and I think that is a step in the right direction.
Okay, so this is not something that is slowing down as the election is approaching?
Not in the list.
Because sometimes you look at those kind of
not in the list. Not in the list.
Okay. Akin, calling in from Makurdi in Benue State, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, I want to find out from the minister, how long does it take investment in power to materialize? The reason I'm asking this is, can he honestly say that the improvement, whatever improvement that has been obtained in the power sector, is due only to the actions of this government? Will you not agree that the improvement is also due to the investment done in power sector by previous administration?
Thank you very much for calling in.
So, okay, good question. Like I said, but before we came in, generation and distribution had been privatized. But what did we meet on ground? 2,690 megawatts of power generated by all the GENCOs. And of course, they are there, they can challenge my figures. We had to intervene to improve the power generated by putting together a 701 billion guarantee to all GENCOs that if your problem is that if you generate, the distribution companies are not paying you, we will pay you if you generate. And that has resulted in an increase of over 4,500 megawatts. So today, I can beat our chest to say it's our intervention that led to the improvement in generation.
But the last leg, which is the distribution, because from figures you've explained, I think we have about 2,000 megawatts in hand that we are not able to pass on.
Yes, again, like I said, even distribution is not in our hands. And you see, Akin, that means enough investment is not being made by those who bought into the system, those who participated in the privatization, especially in DISCO. It's because they have not invested enough in distribution. That is why they're not able to distribute the entire amount that is being generated. And that's why I said, even at that, we are working with them to strengthen their platforms so that there will be improved, distribution. Okay,
Mr. George, thank you for holding on. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Eric, and good morning to the minister.
Good morning.
Uncle Eric, please, I would like to talk about the other side of governance, not the positive narration that the minister has enumerated. Number one, Honorable Minister, I am angry with you for two reasons. I am an ardent supporter of Mr. President because this is the first time Nigeria is having an honest person at the head of governance who is ready to tackle corruption that is the major problem of this country. Why I'm angry with you as one of his aides or execution of policies is for two reasons. Number one, when they are at the spokesperson of the party or the political party that is in power now, we were seeing, timely information from the side of the opposition. But you are now the Minister of Information for the government. The government does not speak out at the right time. There are many things that the president, you yourself, you have narrated so much that have been achieved, but the people are not aware. You are not speaking up. And when the president is being demarcated by suspicion and rumors, there will be no government response until people now believe it to be true. That's one. The second one is where you are sitting down now, sir. I'm able to talk to you because of the policy of TVC, or as the group is called, CBS. This is not applicable to other media houses. Nigerians are not given opportunity to speak out their minds, whether positive or negative, against governance. What is the Minister of Information doing to ensure that people have access to the media? What they do, most of the media houses are still operating like they were doing during the previous government after collecting money.
Okay, Mr. George, thank you very, very much for calling in.
Mr. George, thank you for your question.
An ardent supporter of
yes,
Buhari,
and I'm quite
angry.
Yes, I think I appreciate people like you. But Mr. George, we've never for one moment stopped talking about the achievement of this government. And we've used several platforms to do so. Under my stewardship...
Achievements are one thing, sir. But he was saying that when the president is being demarketed...
I'm coming, sir. We do, for instance, have town hall meetings. And till today, we've held 12 of such, at which we tell the world exactly the achievements of government. And our town hall meetings also serve as a two-way platform to also hear what the public want, what they want us to do. Now, as to keeping quiet when Mr. President is being demarcated, of course, we've never kept quiet. And I think it's on record what we've done in recent times, where Mr. President and this administration was accused of not having done anything. But don't forget, we are not an opposition political party today. We are the government of Nigeria, and we have to be measured in our responses. We do not react. We are supposed to be proactive. And one of the things we are doing today here is to let you know, as we do always, and it's not only me, other ministers also go out to explain to Nigerians exactly what we've achieved. So please, Mr. George, we will not sit down and allow our achievements to be withered, or to be whittled down. And that is why just less than a week ago, I was in the US doing exactly the same thing, engaging international media, engaging think tanks all over the world as to the achievements of this administration. As to the second leg of your question, I think I will also take this to the NBC, who are the regulators. I think they have the responsibility to ensure that every Nigerian has a right to express his or her own views on any platform.
Yakubu Ndokwemu, thank you for holding on. Another diehard Buhari supporter who is angry, according to what you've told us in recent calls.
Yes, Yori, thank you very much. I'm very happy this morning that I will be able to speak to Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Alhaji Lai Mohammed, I really love what George said earlier. We are that support of Mr. President. I always said it in this platform that Mr. President gives us a very hard fight in our area to defend him. Why? Number one, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. You see, we have already gained a lot in fighting of Boko Haram. Yes, there's no doubt about that. I will recommend some certain things to you this morning. Number one, you should try to watch journalists' hangouts. If you watch that journalist hangout, you will be amazed that a government in place will gain a lot of in that journalist hangout. That's number one. Number two,
hangout is one of the programs of TVC.
It's Mr. President than X-man, X-people that kill people in Benue and every part of this country. Mr. President, I want you to do some certain things. What will take Mr. President to declare these people terrorists? If Mr. President can declare IPOB, they have never been killing people rather than raise a flag in a separate state. Yes, they declare them terrorists. I would like Mr. President to declare those people terrorists because they are killing more people. Then, the major issue, if they are not performing, what will take Nigerian government to revoke the license? Yes, we generate 4,000 plus, but we cannot distribute it. What will take Nigerian government to revoke those licenses? If you buy a company and then you underperform, what government needs to do is to revoke the license and take it on.
Thank you very much, Yakub. Really appreciate your call.
Thank you, Mr. Yakubu, and thank you for continuing to having faith in this administration. And I must also not forget to thank Mr. George, who says, who has said publicly that never have we had a leader with the kind of integrity as Mr. President. Now, to go back to Mr. Yakubu's questions, I think he raised the issue of herdsmen.
Yes, and the reticence of the president to be emphatic about it.
Yes.
These are terrorists.
Yes. Mr. Yakubu, you see, herdsmen-farmers clash is a matter that we are very confident is nearing complete solution. It's probably much more complex than what meets the eye. There are attempts to look at the herdsmen-farmers clash from ethnic viewpoints or from the prism of religion. I want to assure Nigerians that it's neither ethnic nor religious at all. Rather, it is more about demography, It's more about climate change. It's more about the economy. It's more about social issues. And I'll give you two examples. In 1963, the population of Nigeria was just 52 million. Today, the same country has a population of over 180, 190 million people. What that means is that the land, the water, the food, the air that was available for one person is being shared by 4 people today. So tensions would normally, expected to be witnessed. And then look at your environment. In 1963, the Lake Chad occupied a surface area of 25,000 square kilometers and about 35 million lives in 7 countries: Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, Chad, Central African Republic, Benin, and others. Their life depended on farming, fishing, and their water needs on that Lake Chad. Today, that Lake Chad has shrunk to a mere 2,500 square kilometers, losing 90% of its surface water. And in the process, that lake that used to have about 3,000 species of fish has been reduced to just a few hundred. So you can imagine those 35 million people now need to look for water, for irrigation, for farming, for drinking, for fishing elsewhere. These are some of the issues that we're experiencing. But we are also, I can assure you that probably some people who have been masquerading as herders are probably not just herders. And I think in very short time, we are going to give you more information on that. But let me assure you, Mr. President will not for one day preside over a nation where Muslims will kill Christians and will look the other way, or where one ethnic group would kill another and will look the other way.
Okay, thank you very much, Alhaji. Maxwell in Tema, Ghana.
We lost him. Sorry, what did
Maxwell, I'm sorry. Just as I was putting you on, I got the signal that that line had dropped. See if you can get in again, Maxwell. The whole matter of Fulani herdsmen, marauding Fulani herdsmen, I don't know. There is the complication, if you want to call it that, of the president himself being a Fulani. And so there are those who are thinking that, well, why he's being quiet about it is because, quote unquote, these are his people. Let me put it as crudely as that.
I think people have been very uncharitable. They've forgotten that Mr. President was once a general in the Nigerian army and a former head of state too. And you see, one of the most nationalistic institutions in the world is the military.
Okay.
A military, a platoon, or a battalion which a general leads or a major leads is comprised of very many ethnic groups, comprised of different people of religious beliefs. And they are the ones that are keeping his back. So no general, no officer can afford for 1 minute to even think about religion or ethnicity in the way he's prosecuting a war. And that is kind of president you have.
Okay.
So
okay.
I think people are not being mischievous.
Okay. I don't want to lose. Super in Victoria Island. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Uncle Yori, I'll be brief. We are talking about reserve that we made so much achievement. Uncle Yori, but you know that if our naira is not devalued, we will have zero. Because if our naira used to be 1.6, used to be during the period. I'm not a fan to the president. I'm a die-hard of President Buhari. But if our naira was not devalued, we'll have empty treasury. There's no way we'll multiply. That's number one. Number two, the essence killing in this country, all other governors have been condemning it. But I can my dear governor in Kaduna and in Kogi, those two governors have not made a statement. Look at today, just in Kaduna, no statement from El-Rufai. Because he used to pay the herdsmen. Because I've seen him on TV that he said it that he pays the herdsmen, that he paid the herdsmen to maintain peace. But there is no peace. Everywhere there is no peace, Uncle Yori.
Okay, super. Well, I didn't understand the first part of your contribution, that if our naira hadn't been devalued, we would have zero. Could you, I didn't understand that. Super? I'm sorry.
Well,
did you understand that?
Well, I don't, but I think, what does he mean by our naira being devalued? Because if I remember, if anything, our currency has stabilized in the last 12 months. And this is majorly because of what I explained before, that the central bank introduced what I call the investor and exporters, window, yes. which allowed and encouraged people to bring in foreign exchange. And I remember that about 2016, in the private market, the naira was exchanging to dollar to about 520 naira. And today, even in private market, it's about 360, 362. So I don't understand that bit he's talking about.
Unfortunately,
yes, unfortunately. As for the issue in Kaduna and Kogi State, I think I would rather if you can address those issues to the two governors, because I didn't quite understand,
Okay, Mr. Okodua in Abule Iroko, right?
Yes, you are correct, Yori.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Okodua.
Yeah, I want to support those who have said that the minister is not doing enough to market the president. His office is not doing enough. There's an agency in his office that should be publicizing, that is the National Agency for something, which the president of the past used to propagate the achievements of Jonathan's government. His office has not done enough.
Okay. Were you talking about the National Orientation Agency?
Yes, National Orientation Agency.
That's something.
That's something, yes.
Right.
They are not doing enough.
Okay.
The president, those of us that are following him, we know that he has done much for this country.
Okay.
More than the past regime. But his officers, his people are not doing enough to market him.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Okodua. I don't know how you take that.
Yeah, Mr. Okodua, thank you for your very kind comments, because it shows the comment of somebody who believes in this administration. But Mr. Okodua, like I explained, not only do we seize every opportunity to tell the world what we are doing, but every minister, not just Minister of Information, is always on television, on radio, informing Nigerians what they are doing. I was just watching 2 days ago a documentary by the Ministry of Power Works and Housing on the number of roads we are doing. I watched the Minister of Transportation also on the road, explaining things. And like I explained to you, not only do we even do that, we go out to have regular town hall meetings at which we explain to Nigerians what the government is doing, and we also take back to government exactly what you Nigerians want.
But maybe you're not putting enough money behind it, because if you do those meetings and everybody doesn't know, unless you have budgetary constraints as well.
We televise them live. We also follow them up with documentaries and with press releases. In addition, we have an FGN information app, which you can download on your handheld, and it tells you exactly what government is doing in every. But we will take your admonition seriously, and it means we are not doing enough, and we shall do more.
Mazio Koroafo, thank you for holding on. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Honorable Minister, sir. Good morning, Sir Yuri.
Yes.
Thank you.
Honorable Minister, sir. Our universities are still suffering of lack of food space and lecture rooms. Even as I'm talking to you, our hostels and lecture rooms are in a sorry state. Sir, urgent attention is needed now. And secondly, sir, this issue of ban of importation of rice, imported rice, sir, what is the government doing? Because, as of Saturday, I went to the market. The bag of Nigerian rice is still 15,500 naira. I was expecting now that the government, the states are saying that they are producing rice everywhere. that the rent should come at least 8,000 or 9,000. That was at least tell other ministers to be coming to this program so that Nigeria will have an opportunity to talk to them one-on-one. As we are talking to you one-on-one, at least it helps at least there is need for trust. It's an open forum for people to participate. Thank you very much and have a blessed day, sir.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okora, for our last caller. And Alaji, you have a big task. You can't spend more than 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, Mazi, thank you. It is true that our locally grown rice is still not as competitive as imported rice. No, that is because the rice that is imported in the first instance is heavily subsidized by the various governments of those countries. Two, the rice that they are dumping in Nigeria are rice that have been in their silos for 10, 12 years, which normally they should feed to cattle. Now, and that is why...
So there's a glut from yonder.
So that is why the government is also now working towards better subsidy to farmers, not just at the level of input, but even subsidizing the price of rice.
Okay.
Don't forget again what the imported importers of rice importers also do is that they even sell on credit.
Okay, sorry, sir. You've got to go on to the education sector now.
Yes,
the schools breaking down.
Yes. Now, you see, unfortunately, we won't have enough time to talk about schools. But I will tell you that education is on the concurrent list, which means both states and federal government have their own responsibility. I hope there's going to be another platform whereby we can discuss this further. But better still, probably another platform where the minister or honorable minister of education can come and discuss. But I would have loved to know whether you're talking about areas where the federal government has a reduction or where it is concurrent.
Maybe we've covered just about 3% of what we wanted to do. Well, this is the way it always
come
goes.
Back.
But thank you very, very much for that offer. We're going to hold you to the offer.
I'll come back. I promise you.
Our guest has been Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Honorable Minister of Information, and I thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folari.